comparative addressing important bit separately. Dear friends, I wonder why I was chosen to be offered this chair when I'm expected to answer questions from the young writers. Probably because when I received the Sahitya Akademi Award in 1972, I was considered young. And at the age of 82, I continued to write, and probably experience will increase. So I have earned the eligibility to answer your questions. First of all, I heartily congratulate those young writers who have received the Yuva Sahitya Samman of Sahitya Akademi. Well, there could be three reactions to this prestige coming to you. One is, I have achieved. That may bring in a stagnation. It may arrest your creative zeal. Second, well, the country has recognized me formally. I have a long way to go, and I must contribute my best to the heritage of Indian literature. But there will be many talented writers who would not receive the awards. Awards should always be limited, but talents, let us hope, will be many. In thousands, there will be uplifting of the genius of creativity, and then we will be going on writing. The third attitude which is expected to develop, if we are very sincere, I will put down to a small anecdote. There was a small little girl. Before retiring to bed at night, she would always pray to Lord for something. And one day, her toy has broken. So she is praying to Lord, Lord, by morning, kindly repair my toy. Her brother, who overhears this, laughs and says, oh, you stupid girl, do you believe God will respond to this kind of prayer, this kind of request? Of course you would respond. The girl says. Dawn breaks out, the toy is lying still, broken as it was, and the brother laughs at the child, at the girl. Did you see your toy? What response God gave? Of course he responded. He says that I am past the age of playing with toys. That is the attitude one has to develop, because awards may not come at all, always on our way, but we have to go on writing. Beneath our feet there is Mother Earth, but the soil of India. Around us there is the air which has no boundary. It may come up across the Himalayas, and today you are interacting with the entire world. Above us there is the infinity. The inspirations come from infinity. We have to be faithful to the Mother Earth in the form of Mother India. And one, I feel like giving you a little bit of caution. You see, Indian literature, probably in the whole of world, the one literature which has developed systematically, Vedas, Upanishads, the epics, and the folklores. You see the Kathasarit Sagara, Panchatantra, Briyat Katha, Jataka stories, etc., etc. So systematically they have grown. We are beholden to this heritage. One temptation which I see in several Indian languages, the writers all pray to is this: to estimate the classical characters, the mythical characters, in the light of contemporary psychoanalysis, psychological knowledge, is dangerous and ingratitude. Take the case of Draupadi. She is not a human being that you can attribute to her our emotions of today and evaluate her reactions. Draupadi is someone who comes out of a yajna. Whether you accept the mythology or not is a different matter. But once you accept it as a literature, you have to see Draupadi in the light in which her creator Vasudeva has presented her. She comes out of a flame. In order to destroy, her only mission in life is to destroy the evil. and 5 emanations of Indra Pandavas could be kept united only by her. And once when the ladies asked her, we find it difficult to keep one husband under our control. How do you keep 5 husbands under your control? Her answer is disarmingly frank. Because I have no lust. That is the character of Draupadi. What I mean is, when we try to be faithful to the roots out of which we have grown, we have to be very conscious and considerate about those great geniuses which created our heritage. And to identify with their mind, their creative consciousness thousands of years later is not very easy. There we have to be very conscious in order to be grateful to the heritage of India. Dear friends, now the platform is open to you. Ask me some questions. If I can answer, I will answer. If I can't, I will say, sorry, I do not know.
Sir, tell me, I am Devdan Chaudhary. I am a novelist published by Pickett or Panmac. I write in English.
Right.
Sir, I want to ask you, what is the advice you would give for a longer duration of creativity, like you are writing till age of 82? That is, how to last long, and what are the challenges one might face because one might stagnate creatively, and what one must do, like travel or read more books to revive the creative mind again, and give some advice to last long. This is what I mean.
Exactly. You see, one thing we have to be very conscious about is our life is not limited, our life is not confined to the world around us alone. There is an inner life. And just the nature, Mother Nature, has given the entire environment a genius of creativity, which you see, look at a big plant, a tree. It grows on, acknowledgement or no acknowledgement, the flowers go on growing and growing and growing. There are forests where there are 1,000-year-old trees, 2,000-year-old trees, and they go on growing. So, the very creative power which Mother Nature has given to the nature itself, trees itself, that is there also there in the genius hidden in the writer. Millions of people are there all around. Why do you write? Because you feel an urge to express something, and that is the identity of that urge is Mother Nature's urge for creativity. So if you have a contact with your inner life, we have 2 lives very broadly speaking. One life is always influenced by all that is happening around us. Fine. Imbibe those influences and put them into poetry, into prose. But that is not the soul of your writing. The soul of your writing is what we can call the inspiration which wells out of the inner self. And the inner self never grows old. If we remember that and try to be communicative with our inner soul, the creative urge and the creative power will never be diminished. It will always there, be alive and helpful. Thank you.
It is said that there are phases of stagnation in a writer's, or break in a writer's career. So I may be personal to you. Is there any type of phase or any phase in your career, in your writer's career? And what type of writing or what type of works, labors you have done in that phases? So please.
Well, you see, there are 2 kinds of writings, very generally speaking. There are many kinds, just practically speaking. One is creative writing, for which you are responsible for your inner inspiration, which may come, which may not come. So for creative writing, periods of stagnation are almost inevitable. In every great writer's life, there have been periods of stagnation. Now that is because you believe that there is some other force which comes and inspires to write. The second kind of writing is, say, intellectual writing. In my life, for example, for a long time I had a regular weekly column in Hindustan Times. Before that I had a column in Times of India. My last regular column was in the Hindu, fortnightly column. All these things don't require an inner creative inspiration. It is an intellectual choice of subject a way of keeping in view, keeping in your alert mind the demand of the time, and if you have got something to say which will give a direction through an analysis of a particular topic, an event, an incident, you put it. So, for such writing, always there is a deadline. You cannot say that I have got a period of stagnation now. The editor is waiting there. The space is reserved for you. You have to fill it up and on the right time. So, these things can be practiced and you can intellectually train yourself to be able to rise to the demand of the occasion, and through discipline you can achieve it. Before computers came into being, when I was first writing a column, many of you might have forgotten, I do not know where are the people who are of my age. There was a weekly magazine in Delhi called Thought. It was established by M.N. Roy, the great revolutionary. You must have heard of M.N. Roy, the great revolutionary. And it was continuing. During emergency, it closed down. And I had a weekly column for that. So whenever I am traveling, I have to carry a baby typewriter. You see, I have gone through all this typewriter, handwriting, baby typewriter, then electronic typewriter, then electric typewriter, electronic typewriter, and then computer. Now, I have to, wherever I go, I have to carry it with me so that the deadline never fails. Through discipline, you can organize your mind accordingly to cope up with the demand of the moment. There is non-creative, but does not mean that there won't be any element of creativity in it. If you are a creative writer, whatever you do, whatever you write, any element of creativity will be bound to come into it. It will make it interesting, it will make it somehow anecdotal and charming. But for creative writing, if there is a period of stagnation, you have to resign to it. If you believe in divinity, you pray to Mother Saraswati, please return your grace to me. And I wait for it. I'm just as a figure of speech. But you have to wait for it. And why? The world does not lack in great deal of good literature. It is not, we have not been allotted a certain amount of literature we have to produce like this. No, not necessary at all. Thank you.
Hello, sir. I am Komal Dayalani from Gujarat. I would like to ask you what inspired you to write? When you started writing, how you came to know that yes, I can and I want to, the crave,
Thank you.
the haunt.
Yes.
And my second question would be, when you started writing at the time of values, ethics, subjects, and the time is now, you still write. The difference.
Yes. You see, first of all, I believe personally, the Mother Nature rejoices in multiplicity. Just as somebody has the inspiration to sing, and he becomes a musician, a singer, whether he chooses or not, or whether environment and circumstances allow him or her to sprout as a writer or not, singer or not, that's a different matter. But one just feels like singing. Once is an artist, somebody also draws from the childhood. So far as, though it is a personal, I have to be a little personal oriented in my answer. Now, when I was a child, I never was conscious that writing is something extracurricular activity. Before I could write, I used to compose lyrics, or I used to compose some kind of satirical verses and all that. And writing came naturally to me. It has come naturally to me always. I am sure all those who are gifted creative writings, they have this spontaneity in them, inherent in them. Now, circumstances do come and intervene. For example, I was born in a remote village. I have a book called Chasing the Rainbow, Oxford University Press. It is textbook in some universities, I believe. Chasing the Rainbow, where I have described my remote village. Even bicycles could not go there. Even bullock carts can't there. All sand dunes, a remote village. Born and brought up in that locality of solitude over the sea. I could not have dreamed of learning English. You see, it's all in my mother tongue in Odia. I have learned. Then when I came to naturally class 5, class 6, we were taught English alphabet. but I never thought that I will be writing in English. It was when I was a student of third year. One day somebody read out an article published in a foreign journal by an Indian writer living abroad, describing the Indian rustic village life in such derogatory terms. I tell you, I could not sleep that night. Born and brought up in a rural setting in a village, I knew the innocence of the people of village India. Today it is different. Politics has corrupted much, but still, when I am speaking of my time, I was born in 1934, so I am speaking of 30s and 40s. I knew my village. I thought it is my solemn duty, because I am a writer, to present the village life through English. My great opportunity was, in those days there were some excellent English magazines to publicize Indian writing. Illustrated Weekly of India. The imprint, I am giving two names. All the English daily papers, in their Sunday pages, they published English stories by Indian writers, translations of poems. Today, all these magazine pages have been closed down. Beauty contest, this glamour, they fill up the pages. Where is Illustrated Weekly? Where is imprint? Maximum number of my stories are published in Illustrated Weekly and imprint, and that is how I came to the attention of academic newspapers, magazines abroad. In 70s and 80s, whenever they would choose an Indian story, they would choose my story to reproduce, because they felt they were typical Indian vibrations were there in these stories. Because I was born and brought up. But what I mean to say is, provocation comes also sometimes as a stimulus, as it did come to me. I would not have written in English had I not come across this derogatory projection of village life by an Indian writer just to please a foreign readership. Remember, for a long time, British people would love to read anything critical about India, because they could not forget that such a great empire has slipped out of their hands. So anything negative, and one or two writers were there, they actually made the largest income of their writing bill from these, depicting India in a very direct light. I don't mean that India is all bright, no, not at all. It is one thing, what you choose to write, what you choose to project, what exactly is progressive, what is the brighter side of life. We are not living for darkness. We are not living for decay. We are living for progression, growth. Such elements must be highlighted. So that is what provoked me into first. Spontaneous inspiration was there. Provocation also played a role in in my life. So this, I believe, happens to everybody. So next program should have delayed time. Please.
Good afternoon, sir. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to listen to you. And I think I have a clarification to make on behalf of people who are writing in today's day and age. And then maybe I'll link my question to my clarification. And I'm linking this to the comment that you were making about mythology and the rewriting of the mythology, that whether you call them modern, whether you call them postmodern, but the current generation is engaging in. The thing about it is, when you look at a poet like Sujata Bhatt, who writes in English, and who writes a poem about Ganesha, and for her, Ganesha stops being Shiva's son. Ganesha becomes a kind of an embodiment of transplantation that she's living through. Born in India, living in the US, the kind of dichotomy of not having been able to forget India and not being able to kind of root oneself into US. And that transplantation, without talking about that, she's actually talking about Ganesha and how Parvati felt and how Shiva felt and how Elephant Head felt. She's actually using this. The Ganesha, in other words, becomes more of a symbol for her, and which is very, very empowering for her to talk about her life, which is not the life of that story. Okay, so somewhere somewhere mythology becomes a very, very powerful symbol for today's generation. And secondly, it's not something that I believe people today are doing. When Mahabharata was written, there were Bhili Mahabharats which were also written in India. So I don't think it is today's tradition that we are rewriting some of the stories that we know and we have heard of growing up, but India in fact has had a tradition of having multiple versions of these Puranas that we value. So my question related to that is that one of the reasons why I personally value literature and poetry, and I'm referring back to one of the poems that I read by Sitanshu Bai called Yusuf Meher Ali, and there's a line in that poem where he says that poetry probably is the only space where you can come and we can have a talk, you know. So literature in that sense is the only place where people can disagree and people can still enjoy and people can still converse in the crazy world. So I feel that the strength that literature has to allow multiple voices different from each other is a very, very great strength. What, according to you, is the strength and the role of literature, if not that?
You have answered the question. Yours was an observation, not a question actually. It is true that we must derive our strength from mythology. And life is a continuity. I do not know whether you believe in rebirth or not. I not only believe it, it is my ingredient of my life itself. I know, but there are two evolutions. One is the natural evolution going on from matter to life, life to mind, and as Sri Aurobindo visualizes, mind is not the last rung of development, there will be supramental development further also. But there is also an individual evolution of birth after birth, the experiences you have gathered in your previous life. There is one ultimate goal we have to all reach. Every human being created has to reach that ultimate goal. And in each life, through suffering, through sorrows, through delight, through all kinds of experiences, we gather some essential element for further development. And we have got basically 4 faculties. The physical body is there, the life is there, physical body, matter, trees, plants, earth, everything is physical. Life, even trees have life, plants, animals, everybody has life. We are endowed with a new faculty, mind. And mind is evolved out of these things. Now, so deep in our essential being, which the 4th dimension of self, soul, all the experiences remain recorded. And a new birth is oriented according to the further need of furthering that experience towards the ultimate goal. I believe in this kind of vision of life. It is my realization, not only my belief. Now, when I am banking my consciousness rests on the heritage of Indian literature. I am speaking of a writer, as a writer. What I must understand is the vision which the ancients had about their characters and situations. There is nothing wrong in my remolding them, in my gathering strength out of them, but I should not condemn somebody. For example, if you don't mind, if you don't misunderstand me, Dr. Srinivasa Rao, I'm giving a very delicate example with your permission. Now, I'm just saying that how much we owe a responsibility to the great founders of Indian literature. I should not be misunderstood, misquoted. Ekalavya. He draws our sympathy. Undoubtedly, he deserves it. And the greatness of Ekalavya is that determination on one hand to learn something which he has no otherwise any facility to learn, surreptitiously to learn it, and at the same time, easily to sacrifice it when the Guru demands it. So he has become a symbol of sacrifice, a symbol of kind of martyrdom. But that means in the light of Ekalavya, Dronacharya is evil. He is demanding his thumb, whereby he would become ineffective as a warrior or as an archer. Don't forget, what did Ekalavya do before that? A dog is barking at him. A poor, helpless creature, the dog is barking at him, and he applies his secret knowledge of archery to seal the dog's lips with 7 arrows. Along with the knowledge of applying weapons, we have to learn also the principles, the methods, and the code of conduct which go with it. Knowing even the codes of conduct, people violate them. But without that code of conduct, what would have happened to Ekalavya? What is the life? Could the life of the people, forest dwellers, be safe from him? When he could apply the secret to a dog, we forget that. We should not forget that. We should not forget that the Guru's duty also is to see at the soul of the disciple, the karma of the disciple. Eklavya would have been burdened with evil, the karma of himself, the unconscious karma of his own doing. Had he not become reduced in his efficacy as an archer. Now, when we speak of Eklavya, we must also see that behind that there is a backdrop why Drona is doing it. All I want to say is about past, that we must be respectful to the minds, the creative geniuses who have given us the foundation on which we stand. And whenever we derive joy, derive strength out of them, that is why the literature was meant. But at the same time, we must not distort them. We must not ridicule them. We must not present something without the context and try to build my psychoanalytical picture of the character of the situation. That is what I mean. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, nostalgia is something which a remembrance of the past with a romantic touch and which you feel is worth recreating. That is nostalgia in literature. Now, what we call postmodern is an expression for really modern. How can there be anything, literally speaking, postmodern? We are living in modern times. The time when we live, that is the modern times. Postmodern is a term just to connote a certain kind of differences which came along with the evolution in 20th century of certain new experimental schools like Dadaism, Surrealism, etc., etc. Now, when some people thought that probably the time has come when we must surpass all these things also, they termed modernism. But when you look into real literature, have our basic emotions undergone any qualitative change? 1,000 years ago, a mother loved the child as she loves today the child. Is there any basic difference? If I love somebody and she betrays me, the agony and the anguish I feel, is it qualitatively really different from the anguish and the agony my forefather, my great-great-grandfather felt? It can't be. The human basic emotions remaining the same. All the terms we invent, we give, are actually confined, as I see objectively, to forms of expressions. You see, when Ulysses was written, and it was acclaimed as the novel to end all the novels. After Ulysses, 10 times more novels have been written than ever written before Ulysses, James Joyce's Ulysses. So, all these streams of consciousness, when that particular phrase came, stream of consciousness to existence, that was latest and the most modern concept of creative writing. So they said that it will put an end to all the novels. It did not. So what has happened is, just as James's Ulysses was an experimental writing in form, so also there have been hundreds of forms experimented upon. But the basic elements of literature remain same as they were during Valmiki and Vyasa's time, as they were during Ulysses or Odysseus' time. You see. Now, that is why I say nostalgia can become a creative element handled with your own sincerity, and don't think while writing to which school of writers you belong, postmodern or modern or surrealist or this or that. The form must follow the theme. You should not pre-picture a form and try to fit your own theme into the form. New forms evolve, who can say? Thank you. which a critic with a deep intuitive sense can discriminate. The application of words, the application of some intimate situation, which he is trying to describe, which a man could not have described. So that requires a very powerful intuition to determine whether the work is written by a female or a male. But otherwise, forget about it. The editor, that prejudice, all kinds of prejudice still prevails. We claim to be very modern, no. Only thing is to be, yes, please, sorry. Instead of my lecturing, you tell me, ask questions.
Sir, I am Sushil from Maharashtra. Very few Indian writers can influence international literature. Very few. But once Graham Greene said, Manoj Das is my, beloved writer from India or Korea. I believe the more we write personal, more it becomes universal. What about you, the fellow who influence local issues with a global idea? What's the reason behind it?
Actually, my influence over other writers is very limited. You see, I am not a popular writer like R.K. Narayan already. Now, no, I'm sorry, I'm coming to that, yes. He compares me with R.K. Narayan. He says, gutter mystery is there in my writing, Graham Greene. No, you see, there was a time, I will be very frank with you, there was a time when West was looking forward. You see, when West looks forward to Indian writing, they look forward to English writing. They do not know what is being written in Hindi, Bengali, Gujarati, Marathi, Odia. Beautiful writings are there. So far as English writing is concerned, they knew that when Mulkazan was writing, say for example, Coolie, Two Leaves and a Bud, the freedom struggle was on. So the major theme that came into English writing in English was the spirit of the freedom struggle. After the freedom was achieved, suddenly there is a vacuum-like thing. So a kind of little goody-goody things, you see, of life which people can enjoy without bothering, without deliberating much on them, R.K. became very popular. But the Western mind, the academic world in particular, was looking for something which is genuinely Indian pathos, Indian emotions. At that time, my stories were in 70s and 80s. There are so many anthologies abroad, the best stories of the world, etc. They will include my story because of that. But it's very limited to academic circle, not the popular field at all. Now, what they were watching, what I have, since your question is a bit personal, don't mind. The right word for the right emotion. That is something very important. In Indian tradition, if I can recollect a very old story which has inspired me very much. You see, once there was a king. I will conclude with this one story. There was a king and he had a minister. One day the minister came and said, "My lord, now there's a peaceful time. There's no controversy at all anywhere, no rivalry with any other kingdom. I want to live for 6 months." 6 months? Why? No, I want to go to my Guru's ashram in the Himalayas. What for? To learn a mantra. What mantra? Well, sir, if you want to know what mantra, it's called Gayatri. 6 months, why? No, my journey will take 2 months. Coming back is 2 months. 2 months I have to spend for learning the mantra. All right, tomorrow we'll decide. And then he goes. The king goes, minister goes. The king summons the, next day in the morning, I'm trying to recollect the story after many years. This king has a stroll in the garden. At that time, the minister also comes and joins him in the stroll. The minister came and the king took him to very sternly, he looked at him. You said to learn Gayatri mantra, it will take you 2 months. After you went, I summoned my court Pandit, and I can tell you, and immediately he recited the Gayatri. Minister kept quiet and said, "My lord, you have not learned the mantra. You have not learned Gayatri." "What do you mean? Anything wrong with my pronunciation? Anything wrong with my accent?" He calls the Pandit again, recites before him. "No, sir, you are perfectly right." The minister says, "Sir, my lord, you have not learned Gayatri." It went on for some time. The She became very angry, the king became very angry. Prove how I have learned Gayatri. Suddenly the minister says, my lord, I will prove it. But for 5-10 minutes to come, the way, the means by which I prove must not be challenged, must not be stopped. No, I allow you the freedom to prove it. The minister looks around and he sees 2 gardeners, malis, pruning the trees. He calls them, come here, come here. They come. Immediately says, bring a string of rope. They bring. Tie the king to the tree. My God. The malis are trembling. What is the minister saying? Tie the king to the tree. And the king is now sure that the minister is, he has gone mad. So he tells the malis, tie my minister to the tree. Immediately they do it. The malis follow immediately the king's direction. Now the minister says, my lord, while he is tied to the tree, did you understand what I say? No. You utter the same words to the same people. Immediately they executed it. The same words I had uttered to the same people, they did not do it. Why? Because behind your words there was the authority. Behind my words there was no authority. So whatever we write, the Indian emotion, the age-old Indian consciousness, for it to be projected through word, we must have that consciousness. And so the mantra says that the Gayatri mantra, reciting the words is not enough. There is a spirit behind the words which I have to learn through certain discipline. So I think our only discipline to learn the right expression is to be faithful to our creative inspiration and the great spirit of Indian literature, which Sahitya Akademi today is representing. And I thank the Sahitya Akademi. You see, Dr. Srinivasa Rao, I did not know about this program, but you see, one day we had discussed somewhere that a question and answer session would be good. And I had forgotten all about it. Where I arrived here and I learned about it. I had not seen the program earlier. But I'm thankful to Dr. Rao that from a casual conversation you put something which was very helpful to me to know your mind and to know your questions. I do not know how much helpful I was to you. Thank you very much.